Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of the ThriveAfterSports podcast. Excited to be back with you. I got a great guest today. This is a dude who I recently connected with. I saw him on LinkedIn. I'm like, we've been following each other for like 2 years. We had over 100-something connections. I'm like, man, let me reach out to this man and get him on the podcast. But I'm here today with Michael Willett, a.k.a. Mike Will. He's the founder and CEO of WalkOn Nation. Has a phenomenal story, and I'm not only excited for you guys to hear his story and his journey to where he got to today, but also for you to hear about some of the great things he's doing with WalkOn Nation. So before we dive in, Mike, thank you for being here today, man. Appreciate you spending some time.
Man, Taj, I appreciate it. Like you said, we've been connected for 2+ years, all those connections. It's about time we got connected, so it's only right.
Yes, indeed, man. Long overdue. Before we dive into your journey, can you just tell people who aren't familiar with WalkOn Nation, can you just talk a little bit about what you do for student athletes, athletic departments, and all that?
Cool, of course. So WalkOn Nation is all about athletic identity redefined. So what we do is we help athletes realize that they're enhanced, not defined by their status. We go all over the colleges, universities, high school, professional teams, talking about athletic identities in our workshops, core values, brand building. But when we talk about brand building, it's not so much social media, how everyone talks about. It's more what legacy you want to leave behind. So our big mission, our big goal is showing the athletes that they are so much more than what the culture says they are. So that's what we do at WalkOn Nation. That's quick synopsis, how we get down.
I love that, man. We're off to a fast start today because you already dropping gems. I love how you said it's not just about brand building and what you look like on social media. Of course, that's important, but your mission is really to help establish the legacy, like you said, and what you want to leave behind. A mentor once told me, man, like your brand and your reputation, it's the same thing. You know, if you think about it from that standpoint. So what you said about legacy is key. That's great, man. And before you started WalkOn Nation, let's talk about the journey, man. One of the things I was most impressed with was how you started out as a walk-on and then how quickly you earned a scholarship. But can you just take listeners through like your journey from going to UCF as a walk-on, earning a scholarship? Can you just talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, my journey was a journey that's very unique. So high school, I was getting recruited pretty heavily junior year. Senior year, things with coaching, all that stuff didn't work out. So as you know in the business, once coaches start talking to you, they stop talking to you. So how I got to UCF, it was actually, I call divine intervention. So I went up there myself with me and my mom, went to go talk to Coach O'Leary. Happened the recruiting director who I talked to before was there. I asked if I have a meeting with Coach O'Leary. He said, great. So I sit in the office with Coach O'Leary. I never met Coach O'Leary face-to-face before. And the recruiting guy said, oh, this is Mike Will. He's with us. He's with the team. Coach O'Leary's like, wait, what? How have I never seen this kid before in my life? So he called the running back coach to the office that day who came to my practice before in high school. Said, can this kid play at all? Yeah, he can hold his own. Pretty much there, I told Coach O'Leary, I don't want any handouts. I just want a spot on the team, and I'll work for what I got. Right there that day is like, great, you're on the team. You're preferred walk-on. We'll send out the paperwork, everything right there. So that was the last thing I was expecting, was to put on the team right there. And from there, the journey was to be a man of my word. So I was going to work for my spot, and I did that. Being a walk-on is a tough experience. I mean, there's times where we do the same work as scholarship guys, and coaches tell you that protein shake's not for you, it's for the scholarship guys. And that can be tough to swallow, a tough pill to swallow, but I trusted in myself and I knew my ability. And first year I had the red shirt because, of course, walk on, not all that stuff. Next year, made travel squad, scholarship, all that stuff. I made it a point to make sure that I will live up to what I know I am and make sure my parents don't have to worry about me ever again. I don't want my parents to pay for me. So that was my main thing. And since then, the journey's been great ever since.
Man, hey, I appreciate you going into that journey a little bit because like I was sharing with you, man, I think that's uncommon. Like you earned a scholarship your redshirt freshman year, basically your sophomore year in college. And you know as well as I do, whether you're a preferred walk-on or not, usually that doesn't happen until like junior or senior year. So that's just a testament to your work ethic and you, like you said, being a man of your word, putting yourself in position. I think that's huge, man, for people to understand like, whoa, he earned it the second year. Like that's major. That's major.
Appreciate that, man. It was, like I said, it was a tough journey going through all that, for sure.
Did they have like a celebration for you or anything? Like, you know how they
See, I'm a little salty because with Coach O'Leary, he was very old school. So originally, I thought I was in trouble. So we had team meeting, and after Coach O'Leary, you know how the coach says names, so and so, so and so. Michael Willett, stay back. I have to talk to you. I was thinking, man, what did I just do? I've been doing everything I could. He just told me to stay back for a meeting. So he just sits down at his table and said, "All right, you're on scholarship now." I went, "Wait, what? I'm on scholarship." I was in shock first because there was no big celebration, no recording, no jumbotron. There was just, "You're on scholarship. Such and such will handle the paperwork. Have a good day." It's like, I did it. So it took me like 10 minutes for it to sit in. Then I called my parents and all that stuff. But that was my walk on to scholarship journey for that part.
That's cool, man. Yeah, you didn't have the big celebration, but like, who needs it? Because at the end of the day, you got it. So
Yeah, I earned it. So that was my celebration.
exactly, exactly. So you got on scholarship your sophomore year in college. As your career started to wind down, like junior, senior year, did you have any of course, probably aspirations, but where were you at in terms of like, okay, it's looking like I'm going to the league or I'm not going to the league? Where were you at in terms of that?
So it was up and down journey. So the time I started playing the most was our 0-12 year. We went 0-12 completely. We sucked. We couldn't win a game. We couldn't put points up. We could do nothing. But come to my senior year, Coach Frost, our new coach came in. My senior year, I was going to be in rotation, all that stuff. So my eyes was like, all right, this is my time because it only takes a year to get some eyes on you. So I knew I'm in rotation. I can make things happen. Spring season, career-ending injury. I got a helmet to my quad, internal bleeding, calcified to a new bone. So that shut me down right there. So dreams and aspirations at that point for the league were out the window, and my career came to a halt faster than I expected, which led me into where I was just being lost as a person, not understanding what was next for me, because I expected to be playing athletics for a little bit longer, at least finish my senior year out. But that didn't happen for me. So I had to pivot and think quick of what to do next. And that was a tough journey to go through. That was very tough for me.
Yeah, man. So you really didn't have a senior season, right? During that time, of course, there's the emotions that you and I both talk about and we know about the loss of identity and just trying to figure out like who you are without the game. During that time, did you start to envision yourself in a career or start to plan for life after football? What was going through your head at that time in terms of like, what am I going to do next after I graduate?
Originally, the first thought I had in my mind is everything's over. That was my
Mm-hmm.
first thought, was everything's over. Second thought was, how am I going to stay with the team? Like, I know I can't do anything, but I want to be around the guys. I want to be around. We came through a lot. And that year we went 12-0, beat Auburn in the Peach Bowl. So I happened to be around for that. Ended up being like a player coach, being around the guys. But during that time also, that's when I started interning in the Student Athlete Welfare Development Office at UCF, where they help with life skills, resumes, networking, all that stuff. And that's where I found what my passion. I was found this is what I want to do. My purpose is to help student athletes not be like me, not be lost. So during that time is where I used to live in that office, do whatever I can, put on workshops, put on programs, do whatever I had to do in order to help student athletes. And I realized this is what I was meant to be. I went to school for law, but I said I'm not meant to sit behind a desk, write motions and briefs and all that stuff. I'm meant to serve student athletes. So that's where everything kicked in for me. Towards the end of my senior year, end of the season, that's when everything came into fruition. That's how WalkOn Nation started. The birth of WalkOn Nation started happening.
Oh, wow, man. So it's almost like just like everything else in life almost became a blessing in disguise because when you would have been so focused on ball that senior year, still with no guarantee to make it to the NFL, you were able to begin the early stages of your career and start to get experience to set yourself up for success after graduation and ultimately find your calling. And it wasn't even related to your major, like you said. So that's huge, man. So you're already getting experience during your senior year. And then after you graduate and walk across the stage, what happens after that?
After I graduated and walked on the stage, WalkOn Nation was actually put on hold for a little bit because my partner who I was working with, who's still with WalkOn Nation, Tristan, he graduates the year after me. So as you know, NCAA, you can't do anything when someone else is playing. That's the red tape. So I couldn't really go out and do these workshops. So I had to go find a job, and I went and found a job to be a normal person in corporate America. Not my thing. So through that time, I just had to wait. And I'm glad I had to wait because as student athletes, we're used to everything coming quick, fast, and hurry. We're used to fast affirmation, like it's done right away. But I had to realize that in the real world, things take some time. And I'm glad it took some time because I got to grow more as a person to where I can give these athletes more of me and the fact that I'm whole now. I don't want to give them half of a person and try to give them real life experience and real life motivation when I'm half myself. So I'm glad I had that time, that year to hold back and hone my skills and realize how I really want this to go. So that's after graduation, that's the step I had to take was wait a year pretty much and just sit and be in the corporate world until it was time to let WalkOn Nation go.
Wow, man. So you had to wait. That's crazy. And obviously this was before NIL and everything. So like you said, your business partner was still enrolled. You guys wouldn't have been able to actually build the company and profit. And you talked about like being in corporate America and how it wasn't for you. I had the same experience, man. And it's crazy, as you know, so many of us, when we're done, if you don't, I mean, you knew what you wanted to do, you just had to wait. But so many athletes, me included, it was just like, man, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I need some money. So you just kind of fall into whatever job you can get. And you find yourself, like you say, you go from playing under the lights and being on the big stage. And now I'm just driving in traffic, wearing a suit and tie, sitting in a cubicle every day. What was your, like, what were you doing? And you don't have to throw any companies under the bus or anything, obviously, but what were you doing in the corporate space? And what was your experience like during that waiting period?
Man, when I tell you that was, whoo. So the first job I had, I was a community program director for a healthcare company, but my job was to throw on like programs for community centers, all that stuff. So I was still kind of doing what I wanted to do. But in 4 months, the whole company shut down. So when bills started coming and jobs weren't coming in, I had to take the tough route. So I ended up working at Victoria's Secret at an outlet mall in the back, picking boxes, throwing boxes, pallet jacks, love spell, pure seduction. I'm doing throwing all that, lifting this, lifting that. It got to the point where I looked at myself in the mirror, I was like, what happened? What happened? Like I had my ego kick in for a second. Like, wait a minute. I was a Division I football player at a top school, just won a championship. Now I'm in the back of Victoria's Secret throwing fragrances around. Who am I? That year of waiting was a tough year for me. That was tough.
Man, see, hey, I appreciate you being honest with the experience, man, because like you said, the program director position, that's not bad. It's still somewhat related to what you want to do. But being in the back of Victoria's Secret throwing boxes around and fragrances, like that's not, man, I can see how that would be definitely a moment where you're like, what am I doing right now?
Man, I had to pay them bills. I had to pay the bills, but damn, man, I need something.
Right. And you said like, so during that time, you said you became more of yourself. That's
Right.
interesting, man. Like obviously, I'm sure there was some reflection, but how do you feel that during that time you became more of yourself, and ultimately it led to you being able to better serve when you were able to go back to WalkOn Nation? How did you become more of yourself during that time?
I became more of myself because I got to live with myself. Being a student athlete, we don't really got time to sit back for ourselves, but especially you in a job you don't like, there's a lot of time where you're isolated and alone and you're just thinking. And I had time to think of who am I? Like, didn't have my phone on me. I made sure I put my phone away. And I had to truly love myself before I can give myself to the world. If I'm not full and I'm not whole, I can't give it to anybody else. So it took that time for me to truly understand who I am, what I want to do, what I stand for. And I needed that by isolation. Without that isolation, who knows where I would have went. I might have just let WalkOn Nation drop off just because I was trying to find the next trend or find the next dollar. But being in that isolation helped me realize this is still what I want. This is what I need to do, and I'm going to make it happen. So that's how it helped me during that time.
That's good, man. That's good. There's a couple of things that, and I'm sure you've seen this in the work that you do too, because the majority of my work is spent doing a lot of one-on-one coaching with athletes. And so something you just said jumped out at me because during my personal experience and through a lot of athletes, I know the isolation can be a bad thing. And I think it's a bad thing because it's only a bad thing if you don't have the vision. like you were in isolation, but you had a vision for what you knew you wanted to do. But it's scary if you live in isolation and you're dealing with no longer being an athlete and you have no clue. So I think it would be helpful maybe if you could just give some advice, like to the athletes right now who maybe they're isolated, they don't know like that what they're going through in terms of the loss of identity and all that is common. Maybe they don't understand like, you know, what to do with all this time they have on their hands. Can you just speak to those athletes right now and give them some words of encouragement, or maybe share your own personal experience about what to do with that isolation? Or yeah.
Yeah, definitely there's two things. When I say isolation, I mean phones away too. So a lot of times when athletes isolate, we on the phone scrolling and comparing, seeing our old boys who made it, other teammates who still playing, seeing what's happening on social media, and we're comparing like, damn, why am I not doing this? Why am I not doing that? So we're not really isolating because we're not figuring out who we are. We're just comparing to what this person's doing, what that person's doing. You got to take time and really understand who you are. Put the phone away. When you can live with yourself and love yourself for a little bit, then we can talk about that vision. But if you're trying to find yourself in other people, that'll never work because their life is never your life. No matter what happens, no matter what they've done, you can learn from people, but you will never live their life, no matter what happens. You will never live your parents' life. You'll never live your coach's life. No one will ever live my life. No one will ever live your life. Your life is your own to live. And we got to understand that, especially in this culture nowadays, social media, everyone's comparing and contrasting. But there's nothing to compare and contrast. My life can never be yours, ever. You'll never walk a day in my shoes. It is what it is. And I think a lot of athletes realize, I know people talk about intangible skills of being an athlete. The intangible skill I feel like people don't talk about the most is adaptability. We adapt better than anyone on this earth because we've done it our whole career. Being an athlete, you got to adapt. I mean, you got a game plan and stuff, but when you in between those lines or you on the court, you off instinct. You adapt to what the other player does. You adapt to what the team is doing. You make moves on the fly. That's life. You just got to make moves on the fly. You can't worry about the next step because you forget in the present moment. In the game, we don't skip by what's happening in front of us. Something about tackle me, I don't think, damn, what's about to do next play? I'm about to avoid that tackle, and whatever happens, happens. That's life. Nothing's going to be easy, but we got to realize that we got to live in the present. We think about that future too much, and sometimes we miss what's right in front of us. We're missing the signs that are right in front of us that we can change here and now. But we worried about the future too much. So I say we adapt. We thrive in adapting. We're elite athletes for a reason. No one, 99% of people can't do what college athletes do. You can't throw a person from corporate America on the field right now, give him a playbook and say, do this and work on the fly. But what you can do is take that athlete from the field and put him in corporate America and he will thrive like that because he's used to it. We're used to being in the fire. So just know if you're in that isolation, you've been way worse. You've been in the fire pretty much all your life on the field, whatever sports you play. Just adapt. Life is about adapting. If anyone is in life that says they know it all, they're lying to you. They just know how to adapt on the fly and move quick. We do it better than anybody else. Embrace that adaptability and things will start changing.
Oh, that's good, man. That's good. That was solid advice right there. While you were talking, I thought of somebody for sure. Like, I'm gonna send this episode to this person because they need to hear everything you just said, man. That was solid. I want to use this while we're on the topic. I want to open up the space for you to give some more advice because a lot of people who listen to the show, of course, it's current athletes, former athletes, parents, coaches, people in athletic departments, but a lot of people listen. And the reason I wanted to have you on is because a lot of people can learn from your journey and build something similar. You know, a lot of people want to be able to go back and serve the athlete community, but do it on their own terms and carve out their own lanes. So with that being said, man, can you just give us a glimpse into like you leave Victoria's Secret, you know, your business partner graduates, you guys get back on the ball with WalkOn Nation. What was like the first thing you did to actually take it from an idea to actually getting into schools and starting to build out the programming?
So what I did prior to going into corporate world when I was still in college, I networked all the time. So the big thing I teach in WalkOn Nation is let being an athlete enhance you, not define you. So what I truly mean by that is when you're in college and as an athlete, people gravitate to you naturally. We have so many resources around us that we can use, but most of us never use it until it's too late and we're out. In the athletic world, nobody cares about a has-been. It is what it is. That's how the business goes. It's always, what have you done for me lately? So while you're in that business, connect with everyone you can. I use that to my advantage. I connected with a lot of people. And after that happened, another thing, I'm not afraid to ask. A lot of things people fear is the word no. I don't take no for an answer until you tell me no. I'm not going to tell myself no. So I asked some people who I knew were in the college spaces, like, hey, can we come out and speak a program? Don't want any money. I just want to practice to get my name out there. And some people said yes. And from there, WalkOn Nation started picking up from that point and just understanding that sometimes we're our own worst enemy. And a lot of times we tell ourselves no before anyone else can even give us the answer. You'd be surprised how many people want to help you. You'd be surprised, especially because you're an athlete, you'd be surprised how many people just want to get to know you. Use that. Don't hide. There's no reason to. You have the biggest advantage pretty much in America because everyone, sports transcends everything. If you want to bring people together, put sports on. Super Bowl brings everybody together. NBA Finals. I wouldn't have met some of the people I met without being in that huddle because I want to talk to him from that part of life, him from that part of life. But sports brings everyone together. So use that because people want to be connected to that. People want to feel something. Use that. Connect. Network. That's what I did. I networked, and after I networked, I reached back out. You got to reach back out and keep those connections thriving.
Man, Mike, there's a lot there, man. But one of the most important things to me personally, or one of my favorite things you shared, is how before you started asking for money, you went out and did stuff for free to get your name out there and to build the proof of concept. A lot of people, man, they need to hear that because they have this idea and they think, oh, someone's supposed to pay me for this right away. I'm not saying don't get what you're worth, but I think that's so important to share, man. I always tell people before I was getting, paid to speak or paid for books or paid to have people work with me, I coach athletes for free. Before I had sponsorships that paid me to work with athletes, I coached athletes for free. Just like you said, to get my name out there, to prove that what I was doing was working. Like, you guys might have to just run. Matter of fact, run this whole episode back and just listen again to what Mike is sharing with you guys because don't miss these gems. Like this is life-changing information that if you just actually follow these steps, not just listen to it, but apply it to what you're doing in life and in business, sky's the limit for you. So, man, phenomenal, man. Right now with WalkOn Nation, every time I look up, you're speaking at another school, you got another program. It's cool because now you and I, we're so connected that we're starting to like speak on the same panels and stuff like that too, which is cool to see. So the timing of it is perfect for us to connect like this. But I want to talk a little bit about the future of WalkOn Nation, man. We can talk like long term, 5-10 years from now, more so like immediate future. Like, what do you envision for the future of WalkOn Nation?
So what I envision for the future of WalkOn Nation is reach as many student athletes nationwide, worldwide. Long-term goal, this might shock some people, but I speak the truth. Long-term goals, I don't have to do this anymore. I did my job to where schools take hold of it. My job is not really all for the money. My job is to make sure student athletes are prepared in sport and out of sport. And once every school starts doing that, then I'm not needed anymore. But until I'm needed, I'm going to keep doing the work I'm going to do. But the long-term goal is I don't have to do this anymore. The schools do it. You don't need me because everyone's doing it right. So that's the long-term goal is where I've gone to so many schools where they finally get it and they can now do it themselves. That's what I want out of all of this.
Man, let me see. I want to be respectful of your time, man. I have one more question for you, but before we even do that, everybody just stop what you're doing right now. Check the show notes, look up all Mike's information, make sure you follow him on social media, reach out to this man. So all that'll be in the show notes, but just for the sake of the time that we have together, Mike, can you just tell everybody the best way to follow your journey, follow WalkOn Nation, get in touch with you if they want to reach out? Where's the best place to check you out?
Yeah, I mean, Instagram and Twitter, follow WalkOn_Nation. Website, walkonnation.org. There's a contact page. You can get a hold of me. I'll get back to you within 24 hours. I know it says 48, but I'll get back to you within 24 hours. Just reach out to me. Like I said, I'm here to help. I'm an open book. If you got a question, I'm here to answer. So that's the best way to get in contact.
Man, this man said, I know it says 48 hours, but I'll get back to you at 24. That's that over delivering right there. Man, awesome, man. Hey, one more question for you before we close out today. There's someone listening to this show right now who's basically like the younger version of us. They have no idea what they're doing. They just finished playing. They feel like they're all alone. Like no one understands what it's like to not be able to compete anymore. They don't know what to do with the rest of their life. what can you say to those athletes who are in transition right now who just don't even know where to start or how to pick up the pieces and start to move forward with their lives?
That's a good one. I'll say, do not fear the unknown. The problem is people are addicted to their past. They're addicted to their past because it's comfortable. I'm gonna stay here. I'm gonna think about athletics and all this stuff. This is what I know. This is what I'm used to. But to prosper in life, you got to go through the uncomfortable. That's why I talk about the adaptability piece. We adapt better than anyone, in my opinion. It's just what we do. We thrive in it. So do not fear the unknown, because while you're sitting still fearing the unknown, somebody else is, and they're taking your spot. Life doesn't necessarily beat you up. Life just keeps moving. Life doesn't have a good or bad intention. It just keeps going. So while you're standing still, life keeps going, and someone else is going with life while you're just sitting there. So do not fear the unknown. We just adapt. Nothing's promised. Nothing tomorrow. Me walking out the door is not promised. We don't know. We just go and do it. Don't fear the unknown, because you're making your own monster that don't even exist. Trust in yourself. If you're young, listen to this. You can adapt better than anyone. Trust in your ability before putting your trust in anyone else. That's how I would say.
Perfect way for us to wrap up, man. That's a mic drop moment right there. Phenomenal advice. Mike, I just want to say thank you, man, for coming on today and spending some time. You are a prime example of what it looks like to thrive after sports. That's why I wanted to have you on the show. And I know people are going to be able to take a lot away from this, not just from your advice and the gems that you share, but just your journey itself. Like, is the example. You're leading by example, and that's one of the most important things that I think people will take away from this episode, man. So thank you for spending some time, brother. Appreciate you.
And thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I had a great time, man.
Awesome, man. Hey, you'll be back on the show, man. We'll make this kind of a frequent thing. So for all the listeners, this won't be the last time you hear from Michael on the Thrive After Sports podcast. But man, everybody, I want to thank you for tuning in. Once again, make sure you check the show notes, check out what Michael is doing, and we'll see you on the very next episode. Peace, everybody.